Hey guys, what's going on? Today we're going to be talking about Demon Hunter, Havoc Demon Hunter guide for PvP. We're just going to go over some basics, like a rotation, um, your abilities, how to set up a kill, do damage, some conduits, and I'll make another video too of some gameplay because I don't want to make this video too long. But anyways, here I am on my Demon Hunter. I'm a Blood Elf Demon Hunter, so I'll talk about why that's important later on. But as you guys know, here in Shadowlands 9.0, Havoc Demon Hunters aren't that strong right now, but I still believe they bring a lot of utility to Arena PvP. Um, Here's my talent build I have right now. As you can see right here, I went Fellblade, Demon Blade, Trail of Ruin, Soul Rending, First Blood, Fell Eruption, and Demonic. I'm going to go over each one of these talents and why I chose it. I also have pretty much the cookie cutter PvP talents as well. Reverse Magic, Cover of Darkness, and Detainment. So, reason why I went Fellblade for this one is for mobility. It's just one additional ability that the Demon Hunter has for mobility. As you already may or may not know, Demon Hunter is one of the most mobile classes, just overall in the game. One of them being Vengeful Retreat. That's a backflip that you do. It puts a slow on the enemy as well if you happen to be right next to them and does a little bit of damage. You also got Fell Rush, which is equivalent to like a charge. It does some damage too. You have 2 charges of that. And I'm Night Fae on my Demon Hunter, so I also have the Soul Shape, right? Turns me into like a Ghost Wolf, and I have my movement speed increased by 50% for 12 seconds. And it's also a teleport too, so if you press it again after the short cooldown, it can teleport you 15 yards forward, or whichever way you're facing, right? And Demon Hunters are really good at chasing down like druids, monks, classes with a lot of mobility. And when you add Fellblade into their abilities, it's just one additional form of mobility. And for those reasons, that's why I choose that. It also generates Fury, but realistically, I like to play it for just mobility purposes. Then down here in the second row, for the level 25 talents, I chose Demon Blade. It replaces my Demon's Bite. Demon's Bite is just like a regular... It's not an auto attack, but you can actually hotkey the button and it's an extra attack. It just turns... If you take Demon Blade, you no longer have Demon's Bite, and your auto attacks just do additional shadow damage and generate Fury. It's one less keybind, and it's one less thing you have to manage. That way you can focus more on your true purpose being a Demon Hunter, which is utility. So I can go more into how Demon Hunters can be used for the utility later on. But it's just one less button, and if you're just learning the class and are new to PvP too, it just makes your life a little bit easier. One less button, one less thing you have to worry about, and you can switch it up later on, but realistically, this is like the go-to talent that most people take. The third line here, you got Trail of Ruin, Unbound Chaos, and Glaive Tempest. This one, it can go either way. You can either go Trail of Ruin or Glaive Tempest. If you want more consistent damage and you'd want to go Trail of Ruin. If you want like big burst damage, depending on your comp, right? You can go Glaive Tempest. So Trail of Ruin gives your Blade Dance, which is one of your main abilities in your rotation, a bleed effect. So after the last slash, a Blade Dance, you'll put a bleed up on the target, and it does damage. It doesn't do a lot of damage, but over time it'll add up to a lot, and it's really good against teams that have a class that can stealth. So like a rogue, druid, even like some hunters, right? Um, if the rogue is running away, the stealth person is running away, you can drop down your blade dance. As long as the last slash gets them, they can be in combat for like another 4 seconds. Bleeds, dots, like damage over time of abilities that are put on to the enemy player prevents them from stealthing because it's damage and they're in combat. You have to be out of combat in order to be able to go back into stealth. So for a while, I was playing Glaive Tempest. I was playing Glaive Tempest in the beginning of the arena season just because I didn't have a whole lot of gear, and this did a lot of damage in comparison to my Trail of Ruin. But now that I've gotten a little bit of gear, in my opinion, I think Trail of Ruin's better, just because you have to have a setup for Glaive Tempest. I'll go more into that later, but just know the default, you'd want to go Trail of Ruin. Third one, you got Soul Rending, Desperate Instincts, and Netherwalk. For PvP, you're going to want to go by default Soul Rending. You have your base Leech, you have a flat 5% Leech. Leech heals you for a percent of the damage you deal. So I don't know the exact numbers, but just know damage you do heals you. Also, when you're in Metamorphosis form, which is your big damage cooldown, and can be viewed as the same thing as like a Paladin's Avenging Wrath, their wings, a Mage's Combustion, their Arcane Power, a Druid's Incarnation, or like Berserk. It's their big cooldown, damage cooldown. So if you take Soul Rending, you get 25% Leech while your Metamorphosis is active. Now there's 2 ways to go into Metamorphosis, but I'll go into that as I go further down the talent tree, because it's actually another talent. You used to have your Metamorphosis form automatically heal you. That was like in BFA, Battle for Azeroth, but Demon Hunter's self-healing got a huge nerf. More or less why they're not as desirable to play at the moment, but once you get some gear and a lot of versatility, you understand your class, being Demon Hunter, right? You can make it work. I've been able to make it work, and I'm pretty happy with it. But if you don't choose this one, another one you can choose is Netherwalk. So the way I view it, it's the same thing as like a Paladin's Bubble, right? They're divine. It's an immunity spell, right? Your movement speed, you move at 100% movement, 100% faster, and any damage that's dealt to you within 5 seconds of using the ability, you don't take any damage. You're immune. So it's not dispellable. It's just something that it's just 5 seconds. Typically, you don't really want to go this one, unless you're going up against maybe like a mage rogue, right? Rogue hunter, something that you know can global you or just kill you within like 1 or 2 seconds of the match starting. It's a good ability to have. However, you will lose your Metamorphosis, Leech, right? It's a trade-off, really. I've noticed the higher up you go in Arena, especially the guys on the ladder right now, like let's say the top 50 of the Arena players, right? There's only 3, maybe, yeah, pretty sure there's only like 3 Demon Hunters, tops. I know there's at least 2. There was 3 as of today, which is January 14th, 2021. I've seen them play it. If you're doing high-end level mythics, this is a pretty good ability too. Just because the higher mythics you go, I mean, there's some abilities and affixes that they can just one-shot you, so it's nice to have an immunity. You can't attack or do anything else, but you have a movement speed increase and you're immune to everything. So it's a trade-off, right? So if you're going up against like 2 casters, you don't have any way to get out of it, is definitely can save your life. There's another immunity too that you have, but it's more of deciding when to use it. I'll explain more on that too. It has to do with your Metamorphosis ability. Next one, you got Cycle of Hatred, First Blood, and Essence Break. Me personally, I would go First Blood. It is the default talent that everyone takes. It has been. It just reduces the fury of your Blade Dance and increases its damage against the first target that it Blade Dance damages. Because Blade Dance is considered a cleave. It damages, I think, up to 5 or 8 people. Something like that. 5, 8, I'll double check. Yep, up to 5 people. So in 2v2 it's nice. I mean, so any point is it increases your Blade Dance damage and reduces the fury cost. So it's really good. Cycle of Hatred. It plays off of your Chaos Strike. So it like reduces the cooldown of your Eye Beam whenever your Chaos Strike refunds fury. Chaos Strike by default has a chance to refund you fury. So every time you Chaos Strike, which is one of your main damaging abilities, you reduce the cooldown of Eye Beam, which is another one of your damaging abilities. You can go into like an Eye Beam build, and that's like a whole other video that I can do. But for the purpose of just learning a Demon Hunter in Shadowlands, just go with First Blood. Make your life easy. As you learn the class more, you can definitely mess around with all the other talents and builds, and there's other ways to play the Demon Hunter, but this is more or less like the go-to for those that want to try it out and learn a new class. Next one, you got Unleashed Power. Just removes the fury cost of your Chaos Nova, which is your AoE stun, and reduces the cooldown by 33%. I mean, it's good for Mythics. I've seen people run it in Mythics. PvP, it's not too good, and I'll explain as I go down. Master of the Glaives. It's just a root effect. I mean, it's good if you're chasing someone. I don't see it being too practical in Arena. I would see it more of as like a rated battleground ability. And like if you're in a Warsong Gulch or like a Twin Peak or something that there's a flag carrier and you don't want them to cap the flag. I mean, I can see it practical in that use, but overall, I would just go for Fell Eruption. Fell Eruption because, I mean, it's a stun effect. So I view Fell Eruption as like a Hammer of Justice on a Paladin, right? Fell Eruption only stuns the person for 4 seconds instead of like a Paladin's Hammer of Justice, which is abbreviated as Hodge, right? That's 6 seconds. You have 2 less seconds on Fell Eruption, but it does do a little bit of damage. You can go either or here. The strong ability, like the default ability, really is Fell Eruption. I'll go into more detail why as I get down like to the rotation. But Fell Eruption is definitely like the main one. Next one, you got Demonic, Momentum, and Fell Barrage. People have different opinions on these two talents, on Demonic and Momentum. Demonic is the ability I was talking about earlier that puts you in a demon form. So when I was talking about soul rending, remember soul rending, 25% leech while metamorphosis is active, right? So your demon form. Whenever you I-beam, you get turned into you go into demon form, metamorphosis form, for 6 seconds. In Battle for Azeroth, it was 8 seconds. They lowered it by 2 seconds. People saw it as a huge nerf. I mean, it can be in a way, but I just view it as you have to keep your kill windows like smaller. I mean, that's how I see it. And there's other, I won't get into it here, but 6 seconds you're in demon form, and you get all the benefits of being in metamorphosis form. So you'll get the leech, you'll get the increased damage in your blade dance and chaos strike, and I mean it's good overall. Some people wanted to go momentum. Momentum gives you a 15, it doesn't turn you into your metamorphosis demon form when you I-beam. But whenever you Fell Rush, you get a flat 15% damage increase. So Fell Rush is your charge ability, and you have 2 charges, and it's on a 10-second cooldown. So every time you use Fell Rush, you'll get a 15% boost to your damage for 6 seconds, which is pretty good. I was running it for a while. I was testing it. And also, whenever you Vengeful Retreat, you also generate Fury over 10 seconds, which is pretty good, I think. It's really good, actually. And you have the cooldown reduced by 5 seconds of Vengeful Retreat. I was messing around with it. I had seen some Demon Hunters in the EU servers try it out. Just because Demon Hunter damage isn't that high right now. They did nerf their damage. We got a 5% flat damage increase buff like about 2 weeks ago. But when you compare a Demon Hunter's damage to, say, like a Windwalker Monk or a Boomkin, unless that other class is crowd controlled the entire time and can't play the game, right, as people say, being in stuns or sheeps or rooted the whole time, right, or silenced, you really won't. They'll do more damage than the Demon Hunter. That's just how it is right now. Obviously, that's assuming they're both equally geared and there isn't like a difference in that. But in the beginning of the arena season, I played Momentum just because I wanted to try it out. The 15% damage buff was noticeable. I was playing with a Disc Priest in 2s, and he has Dark Archangel, right, which is a wings ability, and it increases your damage by 15%. So what I was doing was, when we were going in for a kill, I was going to use I used Fell Rush, right? I Vengeful Retreated into a Fell Rush, and I would have the Fury regeneration. I'd have 15% damage buff, and then I would also have the 15% damage buff from my Priest. So I had 30% increased damage for that 6 seconds, and in those 6 seconds, I would use my rotation, mainly being the Hunt. And they nerfed the Hunt's damage a little bit with the Conduit, or they nerfed the Conduit, not Hunt itself, but I was able to one-shot people. I mean, I can still one-shot people, but there's like other factors. One being gear, 2 being stats, meaning like your versatility, and any buffs that you might have up, like damage reduction or shields. But I just switched it up recently, and I went back to demonic just because I think it's a lot easier to set up kills, and now that I have higher gear, I don't really need the 15% damage buff per se, right? I just prefer the demonic now. These are the original talents that I was playing. It wasn't working out for me, but now that I understand the class a little bit more in terms of setup, then it just works. So these are my PvE talents. As for my PvP talents, we go over here. I got reverse magic. This one, I treat it like a dispel, right? In case you might not know, if a person gets like a hammer of justice on them, a sheep, a silence, a mind games, those are all magic debuffs. And when you reverse magic, you can remove the magic debuff on your teammate or even on yourself. But the magic debuffs that you can remove on yourself are like roots or the magic debuffs that you can remove on yourself are only ones that don't cause you to lose control of your character. So like roots, or like a slow. So that's where you would, or like a mind games, right? It's really good actually, especially going up against priests. It's like, in my opinion, like a must, just because they can throw mind games on you and you can reverse it back to them, and with that, it just puts it back onto the caster. So if my teammate gets if a paladin uses Hammer of Justice on my teammate, then I can go up to them, press reverse magic, and it dispels them. And also, if the paladin that used Hammer of Justice is within 10 yards of my teammate, then he gets Hammer of Justice. So it's really good. I've won some games on that because I didn't have my stuns up, but I did have reverse, and I just threw the stun back onto the whoever it was, right? The paladin. Well, the paladin. Or like I can root someone if I'm chasing them. There's a lot of different uses for it. I can go more into that later on. Just right now, treat it like a dispel. Magic dispel. That's how I see it. Cover of Darkness. This one's like, you shouldn't even not have it, in my opinion. Every demon hunter that wants to do PvP should have it. It buffs up your darkness ability tremendously. So by default, over here, we have darkness, right? It drops this ink on the ground, this purple ink, right? And when you stand in it, you just you negate all damage. When you have a chance to negate all damage. So that includes incoming damage. So if someone's like shooting like a fireball at you or a star surge, you can drop that, and it has a chance to you have a chance to negate it, right? It won't do damage to you. Or if like a warrior or a melee is on you, you can drop it also. If your teammate is in trouble, you can run over to them. You can drop it on them too. And it includes both incoming damage and damage over time effects that are already on you. So let's say you're going up against like a warlock and a warrior, right? The warlock is put up all his dots up on you, which is like corruption, curse of agony, unstable affliction. So you have your damage ticking down from the damage over time on you. And then you also have the warrior's mortal strike and whatever attacks he's doing to you, right? The warlock's around the corner and he's like eating or something. The warrior's attacking you. You can drop darkness, and the warlock's dots won't do any damage to you. So that's pretty cool too. Same thing with like bleeds. You got bleeds, which is also damage over time, but there's bleeds and magic debuff, magic damage over times. Any and all damage. Any and all damage. It has a chance to completely not. You just ignore it, right? By default, it's only a 20% chance, but with the Cover of Darkness talent, it increases that chance by 50%, which is, in my opinion, huge. So when you have it, you have a 70% chance to not take any damage from anything. You and your teammates. So if everyone's standing in darkness, there's a 70% chance that no one's gonna take any damage. So it includes pets. So it's all friendly targets. There's different uses for it. You can use it defensively or offensively, depending on different variables. So the class is playing, right? The abilities that are available, so like cooldowns used and not used, positioning of yourself and your teammate in relation to the enemies, right? The enemy players. There's just a lot of different variables to go over. I can go over more of those in my other video that I'll do. For now, I'm just going over talents. So, darkness is huge. In my opinion, it's one of the best. It's one of the strongest cooldowns in the entire game, hands down. And it brings a lot of use too. It's amazing. I love it. So, it's up there with bubble. Bubble can be dispelled. Darkness can't be. You can be kicked out of it, like a monk can use his ring of peace. You can get gripped out of it. You can get Ursak vortexed out of it. There's ways around it, but overall, I think it's really powerful. Your last one is Detainment. So you have an ability called Imprison, and what it is by default, Imprison is like it's an incapacitation, right, or a sap, or like a repentance from a paladin, like the monk's incap, meaning it'll freeze that person, right? It'll put them in like a little cyclone, but it's an incap, right? Incapacitation meaning any damage that's dealt to the target that's incapacitated, it'll break automatically. So it's good if you want. It's like good for an interrupt. It's good if you're running and you just need to slow someone real quick. But if you're trying to go for a kill in a setup, in my opinion, Detainment is a must. Exceptions to that if you're running with like a druid maybe. Otherwise, with Detainment, you get 2 extra seconds on your Imprison ability, and it goes from a 3 to a 5 second. I just call it a Cyclone, right? It's equivalent to a Druid Cyclone. That's how I view it. They're not able to play the game, and Detainment makes the target immune to damage and healing. So it's literally a cyclone. I just call it Cyclone. So I'll say I'm cloning someone, right? That's like the lingo, the phrasing that you would say when you're doing damage in a arena match and you want to say that you're going to use your Imprison. You're going to say, I'm cloning the guy, right? It's the same thing as a druid saying, I'm going to go clone the guy, right? A druid has an ability called Cyclone. So it's just your Cyclone ability. That's what it is. And of course, there's other talents here too. You got Cleansed by the Flame. Ioleotheris, Mana Rift, Demonic Origins, Rain from Above, Mana Break, Mortal Rush, Unending Hatred. Realistically, the only other talents I would even consider would be like Cleanse by Flame, Mana Rift, and Mortal Rush. And a Unending, maybe Unending Hatred, maybe. That's like a strong maybe. That's like if I'm going up against like a double caster or... it depends on my comp, right? I mean, you don't really mess around with the... At least as of Shadowlands like 9.0, right? As of January 14th, 2021, you don't really mess around with your PvP talents all too much. You might swap out like a reverse magic for like a Mortal Rush, but aside from that, these are pretty much... This is like a cookie cutter build, more or less, right? And as you understand the class more and play more games, and whoever your teammates are, you will be able to make your own decisions on which abilities are better and can bring more utility to the match you're in at the time. Mortal Rush, just for quick sake, it's a healing reduction, right? You get 25% healing reduction whenever you Fel Rush someone. So Fel Rush does damage. Whenever Fel Rush does damage, you're going to put a healing debuff on them, which is huge. If you already if you're playing with a warrior or like a monk or another class that has healing reduction, then you really wouldn't use it, right? You would most likely use reverse magic. Cover of Darkness you'll always have, but depending on your comp that you're playing, your composition, like your teammates, you'll decide whether or not you need a Mortal Rush, like a Mortal Strike effect, right? Mortal Rush. You would swap out either reverse magic or detainment, just depending on the comp. And as you learn the classes and the abilities, you'll be able to make that call. Because there's times I swap out either one of these for a Mortal Rush. That's about it for now. I can go over more of this later on in another video, but right now the video is approaching about 33 minutes. So that's all I got for you guys for right now. I went over the Demon Hunter talents for Arena. Go ahead and give this video a like, thumbs up, share it, subscribe to my Twitch. I have the links down below. There's not too many Demon Hunter guides out there that give an in-depth view. If you have any questions about the Demon Hunter 2, or have a scenario that you're unsure about, just go ahead and leave everything down below. I'm making more videos. There will be a part 2. There will be arena gameplay, and even like the other abilities as well. But for right now, I just wanted to go over the talents and why you choose the talents that you choose. That's been like a question I've had for some time now, so I told some people I would make a video. And that's about it, guys. Hopefully you enjoyed it, and leave a comment, like, dislike, do the whole thing. That's about it. Catch you guys in the next one. Later.